Hi everyone, my name is LurchDonkey and today we're back on the Python project. So if you remember in the last video we kind of got this tutorial set up. We had it set up before, but what we did is we had an external file called option1, which is here, and we went through how you would import it and how you would call the functions from within it. So this is what we've got here. I did already record this once already, but for some reason it decided I wanted to update midway through. So right, we're doing it again. So in the main, what we're going to do in this video is make a little name entering sort of system, which you can see here, which asks the user continuously to enter names until we enter a space, at which point it stops. So we're going to make a continuous loop, and the way we're going to do this is just saying while true. We do have these in GameMaker, however you kind of rarely see me use them because while loops mess up most of the time with graphical interfaces. But all this is doing is looping while true. Another alternative which I sometimes use is while 1 equals 1, which again is always true. 1 always equals 1. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Anything that's always true can go in there, which is why we use true. What we're doing is we're asking for a user. So enter a name. It's always nice to leave a little space after inputs as well, just because it gives the user some differentiation between what they're writing and what is printed for them. But of course, if we just ran this now, we would just have it would just ask the user, but it wouldn't go anywhere. We wouldn't have a variable assigned to the input. So we're going to say name equals input name. Now obviously in my setup here, I don't know what you'd call it, it doesn't like this. It says here that this is not used, so we need to use it in some way. So this isn't realistically very nice way of doing it. But if we print name, all this will do is it will kick back the whatever they inputted here, print it back to them. And then what we want to say as well is we want to have a stop condition. So we want to say if name equals a space, then we're going to stop. Where are we going to do that? Just a break, nice and simple. So yeah, that would in theory work now. We've got a infinite loop, which you can see is nicely highlighted here. Setting name equal to an input, asking the user for a name. We're then just kicking that input back and showing the user that, even though they know. And then saying if the name equals space, then we're going to break. We're going to stop looping. Now if we were to run this now, hopefully it won't crash my computer again. Yep, you can see there absolutely nothing happens because of course this is in a function. Now I don't know if I went over this in the last video, but if you don't call this function, a bit like a script, it never runs. So we need to call it like that. Now if we run that, we should see that it asks us for names. So if we say my name, there you go. It's asking me for my name, I've inputted the name, and then underneath it's printed it back to me. If we put in another name, again it does the same thing. What if we just did enter? Well, it just does it again. This is because we're specifically checking for a blank space. If we put a blank space in, there you go, you can see we've finished. Now this is all well and good, but this isn't a amazing script. This is kind of simple at the moment. Now what could we do to make this a little bit more interesting? Now what I would do is make a list of names, or an array. So we'll use an array for the moment because I quite like them in Python. In GameMaker I won't use arrays very often. I'll most of the time use dsgrids. They're basically the same thing in Python. So we're going to say names array equals, we're not going to do that though, open bracket, square bracket, and then close the square bracket. This may seem a little bit odd, But if you think about when we do it in GameMaker, we might say something like that. We're effectively doing the same thing. We're just setting this to an empty list. Alternatively, we could fill this with values. So we could say just like that, and make sure they're separated by commas, and then this would be a list with 4 values, 0, 0, 0, 0. For the moment though, we're going to keep it empty. Our empty little list. Lists are very useful as well if you've not come across them in GameMaker or any other language, because we can call them by doing something like that. And that would get us the third, because it always starts at 0, index within that list. So if our list went a little bit like that, it would get us the third one, which would be 6. Which is quite useful, and you will see we'll use them quite a lot. But in this video, we're just going to use a very, very simple operation, probably the most simple one. And instead of printing the name, we're going to add the name to this array, or this list. Change the list, it's a little bit nicer to understand. So we're going to add it to the list. Now the way we do this is quite different to GameMaker, mainly because Python and Java and most other programming languages operate around using a dot. So we have dots, and on my system here you can see a whole load of options. We're only really looking at these ones here. So as you can see, these options are all really self-explanatory. So append is the one we're going to use. It adds a value to the end of that list. Clear clears it. Copy copies it. Count gets the count, the many times that's repeated. Not sure what index does. Insert obviously inserts it. Pop removes it and also copies it to that variable, but we don't need to worry about that for the moment. Remove removes it. Reverse reverses it, and sort sorts it. The rest of them, they're really self-explanatory. Pop's the only really tricky one, and obviously index, I don't know what that one is. I've never come across that. But what we're going to do is say names list, which is our predefined empty list, dot append. So we're adding a value to the end of our list. And we use brackets on this because append is a function. You can see there. And what we're going to add on to at the end of our names list, well, of course, it's going to be name. However, if you're smart, you might have realized there's an issue with our code here. Because what we're doing is we're adding it to the list before we've checked. Now this is bad ordering. In theory, we should do this here, so that we're checking if it's a space, and if it is a space, it'll break and it'll never add it to the list. Right. We're going to do one more thing. We're going to print the final list. The reason for that is so that I can show you what a list looks like in Python, how it processes it. So if you give that a run, you should see that fundamentally the same program. So if we've got Tom, Chris, Charlie, so we've just got 3, we'll just stick with 3 and then a space. There you go, you can see our list, and this is exactly how it's been formatted. So it's our brackets, and then speech, because this is a string, comma, next one, comma, next one, close brackets. So, I think we've gone over quite a lot there. We've gone over infinite looping, string checking, lists, adding things to lists, and just generally quite a lot. And make sure to delete the main afterwards so we can run the tutorial script. Other than that, I think we'll leave it for this video. If you like this video, remember to like, subscribe, all you guys want to do, and I'll talk to you in the next one.